if we're going on a tour and they stop by a church and no one is praying in the church, you're allowed to go in and tour.
No.
Who says? Well, first of all, what about a mosque? What about a mosque?
Yes.
A mosque, not only allowed to go in, when you go to the Marta Machpelah, where do you think you're davening? Chav, I remember before 1994, before Baruch Goldstein, before him, we were davening Mincha, Marta Machpelah, and 10 feet away, Moshe, 10 feet away, our peace partners were davening from the Koran. Mamish, no bechitza, nothing. So you see the Marta Machpelah is what? Is a mosque. There's no problem to go into a mosque, even daven in a mosque. Otherwise, you couldn't daven in the Marta Machpelah. But the problem is, what about a church? The Rambam tells us that any non-Jew that doesn't worship idolatry, kigona Yishmaelim, he says the Yishmaelim, the Arabs, their wine, you can't drink their wine, but it's mutar bahana. The wine is, you cannot drink their wine, because there's a gezeirah. If you drink their wine, maybe you'll socialize with them and come to Leilenu to intermarry. So he says, any non-Jew that does not worship Avodah Zarah, Kigona Yishmaelim, he says, you can't drink the wine for social reasons, but you're allowed to have enough from the wine, because they're not idol worshippers. But he says, the Notrim, he says, the Christians of the Avodah Zarah, and therefore you cannot benefit from their wine. Can't benefit from their wine. Unlike Muslims, you can benefit from the wine. Okay? But what about entering a church when they're not praying there? Are you allowed to go in there? Let's take a look at source number 1. Whether entering a church is what? Yes? I didn't say anything yet. You ready to have a question?
Rabbi,
yes?
How is the Christians' God an idol, but the Muslims' God is not an idol?
So Maimonides explains the Christians worship a dead Jew, right?
Yeah.
But the Muslims don't worship anybody. Muhammad, they don't worship Muhammad. They worship the one true God, Allah. In fact, Allah in Hebrew means what? El. When they say Allah Akbar, they're saying El HaGadol HaGibor VaNorah. Allah Akbar, Sonia, is a holy phrase. You can't say that in the bathroom. I'm not joking. Maimonides says that. Because Allah Akbar is Ohel HaGadol HaGibor VaNorah. That's the Pella, that's the paradox, that Islam is so close to Judaism and they hate us so much. We worship the same God. Salam alaikum. There's so many words in Arabic that are taken from the Hebrew. Even the name Allah, El. But Christianity does something else, because there they worship a dead Jew and they bow down to statues and symbols and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, the whole mishpacha there, you know. Right. The Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. And so anyway, can you just go in there just to what? To tour. So if you look at side number 1, source number 1, side number 1, source number 1, this is the Chidusha Ritva, one of the Rishonim on Tractate Avodah Zarah. So he quotes the Mishnah, Masnisi Ir sheyesh ba Avodah Zarah chutz la mutar. But what about going in? What about going in? Now if you go to source number 2, something very interesting. Let's go to source number 2. This is Sefer Hasidim. He tells a story. He lived in the Middle Ages, this guy. Source number 2 on side 1. He's writing, this priest owed a Jew money, and he didn't want to pay him back. Kolmer echad, source number 2. Kolmer in Hebrew means a priest, Chava. He owed a certain Jew money. V'yoda hakolmer, and the priest knew, shlo yelech achra lebeis hatiflut. He knew that the Jew is not going to follow me into the church. He knew that. So whenever the Jew would go to the priest to what? To collect, not to confess, to collect this debt. So when the priest saw the Jew coming to collect the IOU, what did he do? He ran into the church. You see this? And the Jew refused to go in there to confront the priest to collect. So the priest knew, if when he sees the Jew coming with an IOU, where would he go? into the church, he knew that the Jew would not follow him there. Ish echad holach bebeis avodah zarah l'scharet, shol zakal haris lo ma la'asot. So he went to ask, he said, listen, I cannot, he went to ask a shaila, listen, whenever I go to the priest, he's always running into the church, I can't go into a church, how will I ever collect my my debt? Amalo be'eze yom hoyakach v'kach b'chol shana ba'ota yom titane v'cheinaso. So you know what he says? When you go, he's giving him a heter to go in. Because you're not going in to worship, you're going in to collect your debt. But on that day when you go in, you have to fast. The Jew has to go in to collect his debt. Okay. So the day that you go in to collect your debt, you have to do a tzom. It is. So he got a heter to go in, because otherwise he would never get his money. He's not going into worship, he's not going in to pray. But on the day that he goes in, the rabbi told him you should have a tit'aneh, to fast. Okay? Now, source number 3, the Parish Mishnah to the Rambam. Source number 3, Amnu ma'al halach l'sham. So here the Rambam is speaking about walking into a church, Notzrit. He says that you're not allowed to do that, because that is considered what? Avodah Zarah. He says Christianity for us is considered Avodah Zarah. Islam is not Avodah Zarah. It's a heresy for us, but it's not Avodah Zarah. So therefore you're allowed to daven in a mosque, at kedei kach, but not to go into a church. Okay? But what about the touring? We don't know that yet, right? So source number 4, the Shulchan Aruch Yeredeya, mitzvahs rachek b'derech v'zekhovim daled amos. When you see a statue of an idol, you're supposed to move away at least daled amos from the idol. Yoshev like kotes beragloi. Let's say you got a thorn in your foot, and you're standing in front of the statue of the Virgin Mary, and you want to bend down in order to remove what? The thorn from your foot. Are you allowed to do that? No. Why not? You just want to get the thorn out of your foot. But you're standing in front of the statue of Virgin Mary. It looks like you're worshiping, right? Or in the Spazoloi Mois, let's say you dropped your wallet and your bag of coins scattered all up front, and you want to pick it up in front of the statue of the JC or the Virgin Mary, right? So you're not allowed to, source number 4, you're not allowed to bend down to take out the thorn, to collect the money, even though you're not worshiping the statue. Bibnei shenireh. What does that mean, shenireh? It looks like, it's called Morris Ayin. Remember Morris T. Ayin? Bibnei shenireh, it looks like you're bowing down to the statue. Even though you're not, you just want to get the thorn out of your foot or to collect the money. So what should you do? Yeshev yifna achrov, so go behind the statue. But the money's in front of the statue. What?
So kick it over there.
What? So kick it over there, right? Kick it over there. Right? Right? So if you want to pull out the thorn, move behind the statue. And what about your money? So kick it behind the statue, and then you can what? Bend down and pick it up. Acharav, behind the statue, right? And then you can pick it up. Now he speaks about partsufait amakachas mayim mipnei avos gachavim. You have this fountain that spits water in front of a statue. You have that in Rome, don't you have like you have these statues of what? Of the Virgin Mary or whatever, and in front of it there's a fountain that spits water. I was never in Rome, but they tell me they have it like that. So are you allowed to what? Are you allowed to drink from that fountain in front of the Avodah Zarah?
Who would?
What? You're thirsty.
Yeah.
Right? And the fountain of spitting water in front of the statue of JC or the Virgin Mary. Lo yeniach piv, you should not put your mouth there and drink. We're not worshiping. You're thirsty. Mipnei shenireh kimenashek lavodas kachavim. Because it looks like what? It looks like you're kissing the idol. Even though you're not kissing the idol, you're putting your mouth on the fountain. But the fountain is in front of the Avodah Zarah. So source number 4 says you shouldn't drink it because what? It looks like. So the Ramah comments on that in the bottom of source number 4. Yesham nechol shein osel mit maris ayin. So all of these things are forbidden only because of maris ayin. What does maris ayin mean, Chava? Appearances. It's not really worshiping the idol, but it looks like you're worshiping. This is appearances. Im yesh sakana b'davar. Listen to this. Kigon im yomus im lo yishteh. Let's say the only fountain in town is that fountain in front of the Getchka, and all the stores are closed, and you're really thirsty, and you might die of thirst. There is no other water available. You have it, Moshe, the last line on source number 4. Im yesh sakana b'davar. Kigon im yomut im lo yishteh. Side number 2. Muta lishtois. In such a case, what? You're allowed to drink. Normally for avodah zarah is one of the 3 cardinal sins that you have to what? Give your life for, right? If your life is in danger, you're supposed to transgress the whole Torah, except 3 cardinal sins. What is that? Idolatry, sexual immorality, and murder. So if your life is in danger, you're supposed to give your life for those 3 sins, not for the rest of the Torah. If you have to eat on Yom Kippur because your life is in danger, you have to eat on Yom Kippur. Because the greatest mitzvah in the Torah is what? Staying alive, staying alive. But these 3 cardinal sins, life wouldn't be worth living. Idolatry, murder, and what? And sexual immorality. So how come you're allowed to drink if you're very thirsty? Because you're really not worshiping the idol, it's only maris ayin. So for maris ayin, you don't have to give your life for. That's what he says. So therefore, if you have no other water you can drink, you're not bowing down to the idol. You're just drinking water from the fountain in front of the idol. So you shouldn't do it unless there's no other choice. But it's not Yehareg Vayavor. It's not one of the 3 cardinal sins because you're really not worshiping the idol. You're just drinking the water. So there's a problem with maris ayin, appearances. When it comes to what? Danger, maris ayin is not a factor. How do you say maris ayin in English? No, appearances. Appearances, right? Right. Now look at source number 5. We're in side number 2, source number 5. See that? Side number 2, source number 5. Shulchan Aruch Yeredeya. Ose lishmoa klei shir shavodas kachavim. You're not allowed to hear church music. That's what it says in source number 5, side 2. Ose lishmoa klei shir shavodas kachavim. You're not allowed to listen to church music. Oy listakol b'noy avodas kachavim. Or you're not allowed to even stare at a beautiful statue if it's avodah zarah. Shenena Maria. So worshiping idols, not only you're not allowed to bow down, you're not allowed to derive any benefit like from the music that they play to idols, and you're not allowed to stare at an idol either because you're getting pleasure from what? From seeing them, right? What about church bells? Well, that's not the song of avodah zarah. That's only summoning the faithful. No, the church bell is summoning the faithful. I think, right? Right. But you're not allowed to hear the music that they play at for the avodah zarah. That you're not allowed to hear. Okay.
Rabbi,
yeah.
is he talking about? I mean, Catholic Church seems to be very focused on avodah zarah.
Right.
Where they play like rock.
Rock music. J.C. Superstar. J.C. Penney Superstar?
Yeah.
Right, what?
Elvis Presley.
What?
What about all the Christmas carols?
I think the Christmas carols, that's avodah zarah, I think so, no, Moshe?
Yeah.
The Christmas carols? I mean, the tree, that comes from pagan times. They used to worship the tree. So when Paul made Christianity, he took that in as a drawing card. The tree, they used to worship the tree as a sign of pagan fertility.
Well, the best Christmas story by Jews.
Right. So,
What?
So Baruch Hashem, we live in Israel, we don't have the Christmas songs, right?
It is to be a diaspora.
Right. So it's interesting that you're not allowed to hear the song of avodah zarah, but they tell the story that the Baal Shem Tov used to stand outside of a bar, Kelly's Bar and Grill. What would the whole Baal Shem Tov thing? And he would hear when the peasants got drunk, they would sing beautiful melodies. So the Baal Shem Tov, what would he do? He would hear the melodies, rehearse it, and then Friday night he would sing it for the Chododi. You never heard that story? It's a Bevusta Maisa. The Baal Shem Tov would stand outside of Kelly's Bar and Grill. So when the peasants got loaded, they would sing beautiful melodies. So the Baal Shem Tov, and he wouldn't go in, but he would hum it to himself, and then Friday night he would sing it in the shul to the Chododi. Because he says that the beautiful melodies actually come from the Beis HaMikdash, from the Levites. Okay, so he's just bringing it home. The question is, what about a shir of Avodah Zarah? He says you can't even hear it. Osher lishmoa kalei shir shel avodas kachavim. Kalei shir shel avodas kachavim. But secular songs, there's not a problem. There's not a problem. One of my friends said he went to a Hasidic wedding. You hear this? He went to a Hasidic wedding, and all the Hasidim with the Streimels, they're all singing. They're humming the tune. Da la 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 da la 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 da 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 da.
That was Simon.
It's Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence. So the Hasidim was singing it. There's not a problem, right? What's the problem, right? Right? As long as it's not a song of Avodah Zarah, it's not a problem to take any secular song and what? Bring it on home, or elevate it, or sing l'chodoidi to it, right? Dina Moskowitz, she does a beautiful job. Deror Yikra, Dina Moskowitz, she taught it to me. Nikki, she sings it beautifully. What? Deror Yikra lebeinam bat na 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 da da na 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 da 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 da. Deror Yikra lebeinim bat v'inatzar. I'm not going to give up my day job. V'inatzarchem kemo bat da na 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 na. What song is that? The Simon and Garfunkel? Scarborough Fair. So Dina Moskowitz sings it beautifully to Deror Yikra. So she's what? Moving on up. She's elevating it, like the Baal Shem Tov. She's bringing it on home.
If you study Jewish music,
right?
And all the Nigunim are all based on the folk songs and the kind of music that from each country.
That the what?
From each country, where the Nigunim come from.
Right.
On the same music of that country.
Of that country.
Of that country. All of Jewish music is based on.
So it's not a problem.
Of wherever they work.
Right. The local music, and they just.
Music, if you listen to go to Yeki Shul, it's all Prussian marching songs. You hear the Prussian army marching.
Right.
The Eastern European is like the song of the Volga Boatman, these kind of things. You have a lot of secular influence. Felix Mendelssohn, whose grandfather was Jewish, wrote.
Moshe Mendelssohn.
Yes, but Felix Mendelssohn, who was already a Christian and still had a lot of friends in the Jewish community, and he wrote a number of cantorial pieces for shuls, for synagogues, that are sung by cantors and choirs. You've probably heard some of them if you've been to cantorial concerts.
Wow.
The influence of Goyish music.
It's not a problem. As long as it's not Avodah Zarah. As long as it doesn't mention JC or the Virgin Mary, it's not a problem, right?
If you're going to sing choreographed melody, you have to use the Sloop John B. Good from the Beach Boys.
I remember the Beach Boys, but I just heard that from.
In 4-part harmony.
Really? Scarborough Affair. But anyway, look at side number 2, source number 7. This is the Yabia Omer, who wrote that. Rabbi Yosef was asked whether you're allowed to enter a church as part of a ceremony, like you're an ambassador or whatever, right? So, side 2, source 7. See that? Yabia Omer. This is written by Rabbi Yosef Zechar Gevracha. Matzasi Lagoin Palagi, of Chaim Palagi. B'tshaylas Tshuvas Chaim biyad shenishal benidon mash asu eza noshim Yisrael. Certain Jewish people holchu b'yom edom shalagoyim b'yachat im council. You hear? Certain Jewish politicians, they go in with the council. Who's the council? Beis Avodah Zarah shalhem, in order to escort them. V'nechtas l'toich beis tifilatam, and they actually enter the chapel. With the what? With the priest as part of the what? The politician, of political ceremony, are they allowed to do that? Im yesh isa bedavar, is it prohibited? It's forbidden to go into a church as part of a, even though you're a politician, you're an ambassador, you're not allowed to go in there. Kosher kosev la'el, ulam ahmed baruch haschayim, hanechtas abeis avodah zara, amra ashesh sheyish lechem chem gomalchem, shamat hakosam oimez veich lahim yechram. He says it's yotzem emenu, amra ashrei. So this other rabbi says, because of what? Shouldn't be pogroms, so it's muta likonas beis avodah zara. So other rabbi disagrees, said if you don't have good diplomatic relations with the Vatican and go in there, then it's liable to reflect negatively on the Jewish people. So one rabbi wants to give a heter. So he says that's only if it's pekuach nefesh. What does pekuach nefesh mean? If your life is in danger, if there really be a pogrom, then perhaps you're allowed to go in. Okay? But that's an opinion of another rabbi. If it's going to cause harsh feelings against the Jewish people, if you're allowed to go in there, you said if it's pekuach nefesh, you'll be onus. What does onus mean?
Punishment.
Onus. No, onus means not onus. Onus. Force. Pekuach nefesh. So this rabbi would give a heter, even though Rav Avadia does not agree. Yes?
Jared Kushner went in with Trump to the church for
Yeah.
the ceremony when he became president.
Well, he didn't hear
Is
this.
that wrong?
He didn't hear this shear.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't want to upset his father-in-law. You know, who knows what might happen, right?
Okay.
Right? So Shalom Bayit, you know, not to upset his father-in-law. I don't know what. So he discusses it further over here. Rabbi Yosef in source number 8. See in source number 8. Hey Nemeshaviti b'shal shel krach shel Romi. Shehayat al Rav al Mufle hakohen in Ochsas Mereu shehoya holchim leknesiat hanotrim ma'chayre hapargut b'yimei chagam. Listen to this, source number 8. He quotes the old rabbis who lived in Rome. You hear this? Famous rabbis, some of them would go into the church during a service and they'd hide behind a pillar. Le'islamet mehem mishkal ha-muzika. Ha-muzika sheyomim naroyim. You hear this?
Yeah.
What is your name, sir? George. Here's source number 8. Certain rabbis, the Rabbi Yosef who lived hundreds of years ago, who lived in Rome, they would sneak in. You hear this, Sonia? He's sitting down. They'd sneak in on Sunday to the church, and they would hide behind, a lot of big pillars there. The rabbis were skinny. They would hide behind the pillar, so nobody would see them. Le'islamed mehem. Moshe, why would they do that? To learn mishkal ha-muzika. Mazeh muzika. The music, shel yomim naroyim, and they would memorize it and what? And sing it for the cantorial pieces. Chanoch, are you hearing this? Voye mesadvim oisam hakoilos kadishim. The kedusha is dova pele. And they would sing it to a sanatokev. Or when, Rosh Hashanah mi yichyeh mi yamut. They would memorize. Here is Yoel. They'd memorize the songs or the melodies that they would sing in the church to the Getchkis. And they would sing it to what? To the Yomim Naroyim tunes. Umayse Rav Kazeh Siya Godol Lamash Kosev Le'el. So, what's his opinion? So they used to do that. They would claim that they're bringing it on home. That any beautiful melody out there is actually taken, Chava, from what? From the Levite singers 2,000 years ago in the temple.
Okay.
All right? So they're just bringing it home. V'hina hadovra kosher, source number 8. V'hina hadovra kosher loima sheyimuta lishmoya koil zimra shirotem lefnei avodah zara. But Ravadia says, it seems to me it's very difficult how you are permitted. Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to hear songs of avodah zara. How these rabbis rationalized hiding behind a pillar in the church to hear these songs of avodah zara, and then they would sing it in shul when on Rosh Hashanah. V'od. Shaloi nisarel hadovra kinyosel lebeis telasam she'asa gomer. So first of all, he says that you're not allowed to take songs, you're not allowed to hear songs of Avodah Zarah, let alone memorize it and sing it to Yomim Naraim songs. And second of all, where's the heter to what? Enter a church in the first place. So Ravadia disagrees, okay? He says that they did wrong, even though they lived hundreds of years ago. They did wrong. First of all, you're not allowed to hear songs of Avodah Zarah. And second of all, you're not even allowed to enter a church. You hear what he's saying over here? He says if they would stand outside and hear the songs, maybe, but they actually entered the church, he says, and they stood behind a pillar. Makom nistar. Right?
Yeah.
So we have to try to be melamed zchus on these people. They lived hundreds of years ago, but they went against the halacha. They went against the open Shulchan Aruch and the Talmud. Ki im emes hadover, source number 8, she'ezer rabbanim holchu lebotei tvilatam mimsibas kaele. He knows that certain rabbis do go into church. Gorem lahem zeh b'mlei shalei einoi heite bedover. They did not really analyze the sources. V'choshvu, and they thought she'efshe lahate b'zeh b'mnei darkei shalom, that if you don't play along with them, then they're going to cause pogroms. B'mnei darkei shalom. Oisha poyel lahem lachatz, or their pressure to go, like the diplomat, the ambassador to Rome, the Israeli ambassador to Rome. Like there's a lot of lachatz, v'anusim hoya, and maybe they're considered to be an onus. What does onus mean? Onus, forced against their will. Asher lefi aniyas daiti, hine maybe yichil Hashem. Ravadia disagrees. He says that all of this doesn't hold water, and if you do go in there, it's a chil Hashem. Asher rabbanim b'Yisrael, rabbis from Israel, yikonsul u'mekoymos eileh, they go into these places dressed what? In their Rebbeisha clothing, and they go in there. Kima lekohen bebet hakforot. What is a Kohen doing in a cemetery? He compares the church to what? A cemetery. What's a Kohen doing in a cemetery? Especially wearing his rabbinic garb. So the Ravadia feels that it's very wrong to do that. It's a chil Hashem. V'shitkei adova lo yoma. Kemishi b'shalut shuvat pirasodeh. Holche beiselosam v'heishiv shebevadai osu ishe gomer. He says these people do go into a church even when there are no ceremony going on, are doing an isher gomer. What does that mean, isher gomer? A complete prohibited act, not allowed to enter a church. Ubeprat, and certainly when they gather there for one of their what? Religious ceremonies. So you're not allowed to go in there even when there is no religious ceremony. And certainly when there is, and these certain rabbis find heterim, he says, afilu mokam eva. And even when there's a place that there's a chance there'll be eva. What does eva mean? Hatred. There might be a pogrom, ein lahatir. It says Ravadia Yosef, ein lahatir. Dover, it's close to Avodah Zarah. Even if there's a chance that there will be negative feelings from the church towards the Jewish people, and will cause hatred, that's no heter. How do you say heter in English? It's permission. No permission to be matir, to enter a place of what? Of Avodah Zarah. V'oy ledor, an oivei to a generation that does not listen, and they do go into a church. Lahati isha chomer kazeh, that they permit this stringency, this prohibition to enter a church. Bevadai shetzrichim kapara gadola. They need a great kapara. What does that mean? A great atonement. Yeshuva b'tshuva. And they should what? Now's the time to do tshuva, right? Tshuva consists of 4 steps. We're in the month of tshuva now, right, Benjamin? Tshuva consists of 4 steps. Aziva sachet. Aziva sachet means physically abandon the sin. Don't go to the church anymore. Aziva sachet. Vidui bepeh, oral confession. Charata busha. Shirley, what does that mean? Charata and busha. regret and shame for past sins. U'kabala lahaba. I accept upon myself not to do that again. That takes a lifetime. That's tshuva. Aziva sachet, physically stop the sin. Vidu b'peh, oral confession. Charata busha, regret and shame for past sins. And kabbalah lahaba, you make a verbal commitment not to do that sin again. So those people that did go into the church should do tshuva, so v'nislach lahem. And Hashem will what? Hashem will what? Forgive them. Okay? Source number 9. The bottom, so the bottom line is, it's Osir, source number 9, you have it, Moshe? She'osir leleches k'nisatam. You're not allowed to enter a church. Afilim hoye b'zeh b'bnei darkei shalom. Even if it's for darkei shalom. What does darkei shalom mean? Ways of peace. It might disturb the diplomatic relations with the Vatican. It's still no heter to what? To enter a church.
If you have to go into search for weapons or something.
Oh, so that's something else. That's pekuach mat. You have to go. First of all, mosque is not a problem, but to search the weapons, even in the church, right? To save someone from danger, then you're permitted to do that.
What if you're an art critic?
What?
What if you're an art critic and you want to go to the Sistine Chapel or see Michelangelo's work?
So that's a great question, Connie. It's a church, though, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's a mamish church. So it's a church. So you're not allowed to go in there. According to Rabbi Yosef, you're not allowed to go in. Going in there to admire their art is a chil Hashem. It's a chil Hashem. You're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to go in there.
So we do
So you do tshuva.
What about,
You do tshuva. What?
many churches have, like many shuls have a social hall, which is nice to the church.
Ah.
And community activities take place there. Sometimes you go to vote there.
Ah.
Meetings of
That's right,
sorts.
in America.
It's not the church where they pray.
Beautiful.
But it's a.
I don't know if you have it on your side number 1. I think I discussed that. Side number 1. You see that voting in the church? You have it?
They have that in America.
In my handwriting, no?
We didn't discuss it.
Number 2.
Number 2. What do I write there? Voting in the church?
In the church.
On election day?
Or community councils have meetings, or all sorts of things can happen there.
Voting in a church on election day. Huh? So what?
You wrote.
I wrote it's no Maratayan. It's not Maratayan. First of all, you don't vote in the chapel.
Right.
Right? You don't vote in the chapel. And there's no Marasayan because people know it's election day and they know that there's a voting booth there. So the poskim say, since you're not going into the chapel, you're going into a side hall, and everybody knows you're going in because you're a good citizen, you're voting. So there's not a problem of Marasayan. So voting in a church on election day is permitted because you're not entering the chapel, you're entering a side hall, and everybody knows that you're going to vote. Okay?
To go through the chapel to get to this.
To go through the chapel.
No, it's not.
No, it's never.
That's a chapel.
Yeah, it's not.
Eric was always in the school.
If you're just walking through, that's okay. If you're walking through to get to the voting booth, you're not hanging out in the chapel. You're just cutting across to go voting. That will be okay. That will be okay. All right? Now, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was asked a tremendous shaila, Chanoch. Can an architect draw plans for a church? Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was asked in the year Tufshin Yud Zayin. You know, that is 60 years ago. An architect asked him, this is my parnasa. I was commissioned, Yiddish Dr. Abramson, to draw up plans for a church. Am I allowed to do it? So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein answers him. He quotes many sources. Yiddish. Shemutar livnois tashmish de tashil akum. Not only are you allowed to draw up plans for a church, you are allowed to even build a church.
No way.
Yeah, don't argue with Moshe Feinstein. But why, Moshe? Because a church is tashmish avodah zarah. They don't worship the church. They worship the statues. So you cannot draw up he says, plans for the statues. Or you can't draw up for the kippah where they put you can't draw up plans for the kippah. What does kippah mean? The altar, the dome, the kippah, where they place the getchke there. That you cannot draw up plans, and that you can't build. The kippah, the dome, where they keep the statue, or the altar where they keep the statue. Because that's real avodah zarah. But the church itself, they don't worship the building. So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says that not only can you draw up plans for a church, you're even allowed to build a church. Yeah, good thing you came today. This is Shalom Igros Moshe Yoredeya Simin Samaches Moshe. Igros Moshe Yoredeya Simin Samaches, where he told the architect you're permitted to draw up plans for the church, not for that part that holds the Avodah Zarah, but for the building. And not only that, even permitted to build a church, because they don't worship the building. Only the kippah, that dome where they keep the getchka, that you're not allowed to build. That is also to build. But the church itself, mutar af livnot. Not only can you draw up plans, because they don't worship the building, right? So he writes, Moshe writes to this guy, it's mutar. Don't feel bad, you're not doing anything wrong. This is your panosa. He writes to him, you need it for panosa, ain't tzorech lahachmir. Ma'achas shemedinei mutar. To build a church. Not just the statue. The statue you can't, but the dome. But the rest of you, you're allowed to build it, and you're not doing anything wrong, he says. That's your panosa, because they don't worship the building. And he writes to him, Rav Moshe says, you can, with a clear conscience, you're allowed to draw up plans for the church. Not, the only thing is not the kippah, that dome which houses that avodah zarah. That part you should not do. But the rest of the building, he says, is not a problem, yes?
What if a synagogue in Europe became a church and goes back to becoming a synagogue?
Maddie, my yeshiva Torah Vodaas, where I went on South 3rd Street, was a church. The yeshiva where I went, Torah Vodaas, they bought the building from a church. I remember the spire. When they bought the building, I was a kid. I lived across the street, Benjamin. It was a church with a big spire with the cross. They just took the cross off, but they left the spire. And we turned it to Yeshiva Torah Vodaas. So how do you do that? What? A spire. You know what that steeple.
It's a steeple.
The steeple. So when they bought the Torah, Yeshiva bought the building, they left the steeple. You can see the old pictures of Torah Vodaas. The only thing that they cut off was the cross. So our yeshiva was what? A church. So why is that Beseder? Rav Avram, why is that Beseder?
Oh, why not?
Why is it Beseder? It was a makom where they worship Getchkes. So we're studying Torah there. Why is it Beseder?
Because you're being
You
all
elevated
the
it, that's why.
You're not worshiping the building, so it's okay.
Very good, beautiful. They don't worship the building. All the Getchkes were gone. They don't worship the building. Beautiful what you said. Rav Moshe Feinstein, they don't worship the building. They just worship the cross. So that part, they cut off. But they left that, what's it called, the steeple, spire? Right. Just the cross they cut off. So they don't, right? So therefore it's not a problem. They don't worship the building. Now what about all of the statues in the Israel Museum? The Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to even stare at a getchke. You can't stare at a getchke. What about all these idols that they found, the Canaanite ancient goddesses of whatever fertility? It's all full of the Israel Museum. Are you allowed to go in and stare at them? Yeah. The people that work there are allowed to dust off these little getchkes.
No.
What?
Not Jews.
Chazonish said yes. Remember this year? No? Chazonish said yes. If there's nobody around who worships those getchkes, are there anybody around that worship the Canaanites? Don't even exist, Chanoch. They're extinct. I don't care what Abba Mamzer says. The Canaanites are extinct. They're extinct. So if there's nobody around worshiping that getchke becomes neutralized, says the Chazon Ish, and there's no problem A getchke is only this guys around that worship it, like J.C. Penney, the Virgin Mary. But these getchkes of 3,000 years ago, the worshippers are extinct. So if the worshippers are extinct, said the great Chazon Ish of Abraham, these are mevutal, botol mevutal, the Chazon Ish. No problem to go there, to stare at them, and no problem for a worker to what? To dust off the getchke. Hello, getchke, because it's not a getchke anymore. It's self-neutralized.
Descendants, they're not extinct.
There are no Canaanites today. They're lying. They're extinct. Ask any anthropologist. The Canaanites are extinct. So the getchke becomes neutralized automatically. The great Chazon Ish, Chava, so no problem going to the Israel Museum and staring at these getchkes from 3,000 years ago. But you can't stare at the Virgin Mary because there are people around still worship that. They're not extinct yet.
Rabbi.
Or Buddha, right?
Rabbi.
Yes.
Okay, what about the
Spit it out.
Okay, this is so good.
Yeah.
Because I saw this in the Old City.
Right.
You know, in Mecca, they worship the Muslims, the rock Abraham, the meteorite that's in the box in
No.
Mecca.
They don't worship that.
What are they
They
doing
walk
with that?
around it.
Yeah, what's up with that?
They don't worship
Only a
that.
rock.
Okay, so they're not.
I am a rock.
So they're honoring Abraham?
Well,
What's
that's part of the ceremony, right? But it's not about Zarah. They worship the one true God, Allah. They worship our God. That's the bizarre part. Why they hate us so much.
So
That's the bizarre part.
He would not accept Muhammad, that's why.
That's Muhammad is what?
prophet of their.
Prophet. They don't say he's God.
He tried to.
He's just a prophet, right?
Accept it and they wouldn't accept it. That's why they hate us.
Okay, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Rabbi Nachum Froman, Zechat Tzaddik Gevracha. He lived in Tekoa. Strange as it sounds, the settler, this tzaddik settler, would have meetings with Sheikh Yassin. You know who Sheikh Yassin was?
Wow.
Before the IDF took him out in a missile attack, he was the head of Hamas. Sheikh Yassin, you know, remember Sheikh Yassin? He founded Hamas. Bizarre, you can Google it. Hamas, Yassin would send a couple of his henchmen to pick up Rabbi Menachem Froman. This is bizarre. Gets into a car with them, takes him to Gaza, and they'd have meetings. And then after the meeting, he would what? Bring him home. Sounds like the Twilight Zone. George, you listening to this? You can Google it. I'm not making it up. So Menachem Froman, he had this special kesher with this chief arch terrorist, Hamas, Sheikh Yassin. And he would give him safe, he would get into the car with these gangsters, take him, meet, and then they'd bring him home. You know, he gave his word of honor, I won't kill you. They had many meetings. So he kept asking him, Sheikh Yassin, why do you hate us so much? Our religions are so similar. We worship the same God. We even call him by the same name, Allah El. El Agadol, Agiba Vanora Al Akbar. Why do you hate us so much? So you know why I hate you so much? I'll tell you why. No, he said, you are supposed to be the light to the nations. You're supposed to teach us. And yet all the decadence and all the depravity of Western civilization comes from you. The Tel Aviv gay parades and the LGBT, all the schmutz and filth. Instead of showing the way, you are become inundated with these immoral Western culture ideas. That's why we hate you. Why is Tel Aviv the gay capital of the Middle East? You hear what Sheikh Yassin asked Rabbi Froman? And he didn't know what to answer. Tel Aviv should be the gay capital of the Middle East? You hear this, Chanoch? So Sheikh says, that's why we hate you.
How long ago
So
was
in
that?
that case,
This was before he got 2001, 2002. Well, we are supposed to be a light unto the nations, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to show the way. And Tel Aviv should not be the gay capital of the Middle East.
So what's
You agree
Bibi
with
gonna
me?
do? I agree.
Okay.
So what's Bibi gonna do?
Okay? Thank you very much. Toda rabah.